you start recording, and I don't even have Mike Zerbel as a backup, but I just thought about Mike. He wrote me and told me he wasn't going to be here. So at least I'm recording. I shouldn't need that backup. So back to Chris. Good to see you. And Christine. Chris and Christine. Hey, dear. You're doing so well. I'm so happy for you. So proud of you. And Oneness. Hello there. I see you made it on time. There's Enrique. Enrique, good to see you again, sir. And Barbara. St. James is there somewhere. There she is, okay, in her new home in Texas, which is lovely. Barbara, I did actually look at your house from the link. It's gorgeous. And I particularly love that way that concrete goes all the way around the pad goes all the way around. You could walk barefoot very easily all the way around your house, which is nice. Pretty pool and everything. So, and I also looked up where you are, and you're much further west than much further east than I had anticipated. Further east, and boy, you are right at Oklahoma, aren't you? Yeah. So, Enrique, it's such a pleasure to see you again, sir. And we have somebody joining us from the telephone. There's a way that you can speak from the telephone. You have to press something. I can't remember what it is. So if you would like to, then please do. I got you unmuted on the telephone, so you can say hello if you like. Okay. Well, we'll just mute you back then. And gee, I think that's it for now. That seems like plenty. So what I wanted to talk to you about today, I never have a plan, but I want to.
Sorry, Fred. You got some unmuted people here.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, you have some unmuted. There's some interference and stuff because they're not muted.
Oh yeah, thanks, Chris.
Don't forget to let the room.
Yeah, and Chris can tell us also. Just 1 second. Let me mute all of you. Thank you, Chris. Is there anybody in the room for the first time ever? Enrique, perfect. Thank you. So, Chris, if you would please let's remind everybody and tell Enrique how the room works.
Okay, great. So great to be here. Happy that you all guys are here. If you take your cursor and move it down to the bottom left-hand side of the page, the extreme bottom left, you're going to see a little line of icons at the bottom. The first one on the left is a little microphone, and that should have a red line through it. That means it's muted, and you're going to click that if you're going to be talking. Otherwise, if you're not directly talking, please keep it muted because everyone's mic starts picking up and degrades the sound for everyone else. If we move along there's a little video icon. You hit stop video. The best thing to do really is to aim your camera away. It's funny, for the first time hosted yesterday. I'd never done it before, and I can see how disconcerting it is to have a bunch of blank screens, so I finally understand what that was about.
Yeah.
Moving along, invite we don't use, but the participants button there, you can see it's got 2 torsos. Click that, and then on the right hand, it opens up a white box. It's very useful. List everybody who's here, and then at the bottom of that on the right hand side there's a raise hand button. That's really useful because when we get to the point in the satsang where you want to make a comment or question or report, you can hit that raise hand and Fred will see that and then can call on you on order. And then chat button is next to it on the bottom of the screen. If you click that, then we can sort of pass notes electronically. That's very useful. Record you won't be using. If you go up and take your cursor up on the right-hand side at the top, you can switch between speaker view or gallery view. Gallery view shows everybody, which is what I like, and speaker view would show the person who's talking as filling the whole screen. So thanks a lot. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Chris. What an outstanding job. That's really good. Thank you. So let's do our 2-minute meditation first. And we're just as 1 or 2 minutes. You can close your eyes if you like. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's just, for me, it's a little easier with eyes closed. And what I want you to do, if you would please, is just notice that even though the eyes are closed, you still know you're here. Or you still feel very strongly that you are here. I'm not saying what here is. Just notice that there's a sense of your own presence. Eckhart used to talk about a sense of presence, and I always thought that I was supposed to be feeling the presence of something else. You just want to notice your own presence. Okay, great. Thank you. So actually, I've just changed topics since there was no topic anyway. But I had one in mind that is now gone to back to the file cabinet. What I want to do is I just want to add, Enrique and I had an awakening session recently, and that was very successful. So now I want to find out how you're doing now, Enrique. So if you would, you're unmuted now. You can go ahead and talk if you would. Tell me how things are going.
Yeah, it's I'm searching for what is not, and it escapes from me. It's not a blueprint. What I'm not searching for. It's something like water, something like a gas, and
so let me stop and ask you this just quickly. Who is it that's searching for this?
it seems to me that is the conscience. Conscience. Do you understand? Conscience.
Consciousness.
Conscience. It seems it is that is searching for itself.
Oh, very good. So the seeker is the salt.
Yeah, it seems a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't know if it is Enrique or if it is that.
So let me ask you this. When you tell me that sometimes I don't know if it's awake, who is it that's telling me that? Who's reporting that? Is it something other than consciousness?
No,
Is there an Enrique?
it's impossible to be.
We've seen that, right? But there's still a sense of Enrique, is there not?
Yeah,
Yeah. This is the difficulty. Welcome to post-awakening, where suddenly you know who you are, but you've no idea what that is. Is that correct?
yes, it's not about an idea, it's about being.
Yes, it's about being. So let me ask you this. Is it necessary that you search?
It's difficult to assume that the search is not needed.
Yeah.
It's difficult to assume that.
And who is it that would or would not assume that?
The false presence of Enrique.
Very good. So there's simply a habit pattern there. Because the Enrique story is, it may not be true, but it sure is compelling, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and you've had everything invested, whatever it is that you are. You've had everything invested in this Enrique story, haven't you?
Yeah, a lot of time, probably a lot of lives.
A lot of it, and all your attention.
Yeah.
So it's difficult even when you have seen the truth, you notice that the habit patterns that exist, they have not seen the truth. See, you wake up, but that doesn't mean that the conditioning has woken up yet, because the body not only has conditioning, the body is conditioning. And conditioning has no capability of waking up. When it's just like me, if I can spend as much time as I want to with this can. And I can be as smooth and clever as I can be. But I'll never wake this can up because it doesn't have the ability to wake up. But it doesn't have actually the ability to sleep either, because it's not a conscious being. Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
So the same thing for that cadaver that I'm speaking with right now is, or that I'm speaking at, we could say, because I'm actually speaking to myself. Right? Yes. So, because I can't, there's nothing else for me to speak to. Right? So it's talk to myself or be quiet. So there are there are thoughts that arise. Pardon me. I must search. Yeah. This isn't it. It's very close to it. But it's not quite it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the not quite it, that's a thought. And it's nothing more than a thought. It's not, and it's because it's a thought, we know immediately that it's not true. Because there are no true thoughts. So this thought, it's not Enrique's, is it?
Sorry?
Is it Enrique's thought?
I don't know it because Enrique is a thought.
So wait a minute. Let's go back to our list of everything. We're going to draw up a list here of everything that actually exists. Is there an Enrique on that list?
No.
Okay. So is there, do you think it's, since there's no Enrique, is it very likely that the thoughts that are arising are Enriques?
Sorry, but I don't understand the question. Sorry.
Okay, I'm asking the questions backwards, because most of the questions I ask them sort of backwards, because that's what makes you stop and think instead of just pop out with an answer. I'm not really stop and think, but just pause long enough for truth to rise in. So we have a list of everything that exists, and there's no Enrique on that, correct?
Yeah.
So there's no Enrique.
Yeah.
So are the thoughts that are arising, are they Enriques?
Yes, the talk about Enrique Rise.
So let me ask you this. They're Enrique's thoughts. Is there an Enrique? It's a yes or no.
It's a deep question.
Yes, it's the question.
It's the thoughts. I don't know. It's difficult. I think that Enrique, no, it cannot be.
It cannot be. Right, exactly. So they're not Enrique's thoughts because there's no Enrique. It would be impossible for them to be.
Yeah.
So are you, whatever it is that you are, because you're not an Enrique, are you?
No.
So are you intentionally thinking these thoughts? Whatever it is that you are?
Intentional? No.
No, because you don't think. Intentionally or unintentionally. You don't think. You're not a thinker. So they're not Enrique's thoughts and they're not yours. So do you need to believe them?
Do you?
Do you need to believe them?
It's difficult to say no. It's difficult to say no. No, I don't need to believe them.
You don't need to believe
but
it.
It's difficult to
Notice
say
it's happening.
Yeah,
It
because
happens.
it's difficult to say no. But
Right. So and so thoughts, I think that your situation is kind of like this. You make stuff up and then you believe it. And then you suffer because you believe what you just made up, right?
Yeah.
And then you come to spirituality to try to overcome the suffering that you're experiencing because you're believing what you just made up. Seems kind of foolish, doesn't it? So the obvious answer is not necessarily the true one here, but the obvious answer is that you should just stop making them up.
Stopping? Right? Stop, sorry?
You should stop making them up. That is what somebody else would point out and say, that's the way, is that you should just stop making them up. But let me ask you this. Are you really making them up? or are they just happening?
I think it's they are happening.
They're happening.
Yeah, it seems that they're happening.
So it seems that they're happening. That's fine. But who does it seem that like they are happening to?
I'm not quite sure about your question.
Yeah. So there is these thoughts appear to be happening.
Yes.
But we've noticed that they can't be Enrique's thoughts that are happening because there's no Enrique. Isn't that right? And we've already established that you're not a thinker, so they can't be your thoughts.
Yeah.
But you can't stop them because you're not actually doing them.
Yeah.
They're just arising on their own.
Yeah.
My example of this is always that if you have wet pavement on a hot day, then steam will arise. You understand?
No. Sorry.
You understand pavement?
Payment?
Pavement. Like
Pavement. Okay.
concrete.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is concrete and there is water and there's heat. And when I have those three things together, steam arises. Yes, hot pavement, hot concrete. Who's doing that? Jack, hush. Go ahead.
Who? Well, the conditions are there.
And stop right there. So the conditions are there and nobody's doing it. It's just happening. Is that right? And the default position over there has always been to believe whatever shows up in that head. It's to believe the thoughts that you thought were yours. Isn't that right?
That is the condition that makes the arising of the thoughts.
Yeah, the conditioning it's just conditions. The thoughts are really what they're doing is it's conditioning arising to meet circumstance, always. But there's no one there experiencing the conditions or the circumstance. But but it will feel like, until it doesn't feel like, it will feel like that there's conditions and circumstance and an Enrique. But we made a list of all the things that exist in the world, and there was not an Enrique on it.
Yeah.
So what's happening is that you, which is whatever it is that you are, is not an Enrique. And you are just witnessing that steam. You're witnessing, there's concrete, there's water, there's heat. Those are the conditions. And when those conditions are present, excuse me, steam arises.
Yeah.
And you're a witness to that steam.
I am the
You're
witness.
witnessing that steam. Better way to put it. Do you know what you are? No, I don't either. I don't know what I am either. So we're on the exact same page. We just don't know which page it is. So there are just thoughts arising. And we can't stop those thoughts.
Yeah.
So that idea that we make stuff up and then we believe it and then we suffer and then that's not quite true, because when we go back to the beginning, what we notice is that I'm actually not making these things up. They just happen.
Yeah.
So when I get a lot of UPS stuff because I shop online all the time. So UPS comes to my door nearly every day. And sometimes he'll knock and he'll say, so, you know, you got to come out and sign for this one. And I go out to sign for let's just say it just happened. And I'm going out and I've got to sign for the UPS package.
Yeah.
So what if I know where that package came from? How about I know that package? I know who sent that package. I don't want that package. I want nothing to do with that package. It might be a pipe bomb. Who knows? Right? I don't want it. So I'm not going to sign for it. Will the UPS man push me aside and bring that package inside my home and leave it on my coffee table?
No.
No. Will he put it down on the porch so that I can screw with it later? If I have to sign for it and I refuse to.
Yeah.
Does he put it down on the porch and leave it for me if I won't sign for it?
No.
No. What he does is he takes that package and he goes and puts it in his truck and he drives the hell away. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So
it's a box of thoughts.
So I don't have to believe everything that arrives at my front door. You see that? I don't have to take delivery of everything that shows up at my front door. I can sign for it or I can not sign for it. Do you have to take delivery of everything that shows up at your door? And by what I mean by this really is, do you actually, I know we've touched this, but I want you to see it more deeply. Do you actually have to believe every thought that shows up?
Unfortunately, I believe on them.
Oh, when you tell me that, unfortunately, I believe in them, who's talking?
The non-existent, Enrique.
There. It's just a habit. It's just another thought pattern, isn't it? It's just air. It just, oh yes, I believe that. Right. But there's nothing behind that. There's no owner to that thought. That thought is just like the steam. The conditions are present and the thought, oh, I believe that thought, arises. But there's no owner to that thought.
Yeah, but this habit, this pattern of to be a false Enrique is an habit.
It's just a habit.
Yeah, but it is needed that of be aware of this habit and break it. It's needed that I must be aware of. Must exist awareness about this habit.
So let me just ask you a question. And this is a yes or no question. Do you have to believe every thought that arrives in that head?
No.
No. But what we want to notice is that the default position is that you will believe every thought that comes into that head, because that's the habit pattern. Yep. That's what's always happened.
Yep.
And you notice that there's no one home to stop that from happening. It's just been happening. So understand that your default position, which is the reason you're in this room, is to help undo that false programming. The default position is always that there is an Enrique that doesn't believe a thought. but there's no Enrique. Enrique is just another thought, and no thought is true. So, but you will believe every thought that arises unless you inquire into the truth of it. And this requires alertness, which is also why you're here today. And so why we're all here. I mean, it's lovely to have this many people show up at my house just to keep me awake, right? But that's what they're doing. They gang up and they'll say, well, they got to keep this guy awake. And let's pester him all week and on Sundays too. And thank God they do. Because I don't think I could do this on my own. I don't know. Now it's been so long, but I don't know. I'm not going to find out. Because I'm not going to try to do this on my own, because who would want to? Even if you could do this on your own, isn't it better to have community?
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to be alone or to have community in this?
Community.
Yeah, community. I mean, you're always alone, but that's just speaking from the absolute point of view. And you're not just the absolute point of view. You can also see from the relative point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Because the question is not, are you the little man or are you the vastness?
Mm-hmm.
It's the recognition that you are both. You are both expressing and expressed. But you have always believed a story that was sold to you by your parents, and they did the right thing. I'm not blaming them. But your parents sold you a story of Enrique. And it was a really nice story of belonging and of safety. And so you believed your parents' story, and then you began to sell us on it. You tried to sell me on it the other day, but you failed, because I'm not easily trained any longer. So you have to ask the question. Notice what my question has been, what my primary question has been for you. Different saying, asking it in different ways. But when it comes up, I must believe all these thoughts. Ask this: who said that? Take attention and try to find the one who said that. Can you find them?
When the thoughts arrive?
The thought comes up, I have to believe my thoughts. You can chase, oh, well, I don't know, but I mean, I don't want to have to believe them, but I do believe them, but I'm trying not to believe them really hard. And that'll get you nowhere. Millions of seekers are trying that right as we speak. My question is, who is it that's saying that you have to believe all of your thoughts? Can you find one, an owner to that statement? If you take your attention and turn it back and kind of like go inside the head where it's always felt like Enrique was hanging out, and go in there and see if you can actually find an Enrique hanging out in there.
No.
No. So there's no owner to that thought.
It's a thought about a thought.
It's a thought about a thought. That's the way it works. So I'm going to leave you with this now, because that's as much as you need today, right? Of this real da-da-da-da. Yeah. But you're doing exactly the right thing. You're showing up here. I cannot tell you how important that is. I mean, I can't tell you too much, too strongly. It's very important, okay? Because otherwise, we begin to develop thoughts about our awakening, says Enrique. But it really was not Enrique's awakening, was it? It was awakeness's awakening. Henrique did not wake up to see the truth. The truth woke up to see that there was no Henrique.
Yeah.
Great. And now we'll take questions. Oh, okay, so Lee, go ahead, please. Oh, so Lee Mullins, you need to take, and I don't see you, but you need to take your.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, there we go. There we go. Great. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
I thought I'd better say hello. It's my third meeting, third
Yeah,
SATSANG.
yeah. I'm so glad to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to see you. I've been listening to quite a lot of your YouTube videos this week.
Great.
I listened, one that made me laugh, I just love the title, was Come Die With Me. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's an invitation that's hard to give away.
I loved it. I loved it. And there was just no thinking going on while I was watching that at all. Because there's something about the setup there, I don't know what it is, but there's something about the setup where there's an appearance of some distance that a thought has to travel before it's observed, and then of course there's a nothing coming out the other end. It's, yeah, very good.
So is there anyone that's observing the thought, or is it just sort of being observed?
There is sometimes, but there's not much of a belief left here that there is somebody. There's very little really.
Good.
Very little.
And who is it that is still hanging on to the little bit of belief?
Well, of course I know. Of course I know. There's nobody hanging on to that. I know that. But using your language, there's quite a lot of oscillation here.
Okay.
I suppose. That's
welcome to Post Awakening.
Which I was glad to hear that word, because it does sum it up quite nicely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I had something is the thought, and then I lost it. Right? I was very, very clear. And now I'm sort of separated from, I'm just not as clear as I want. I seem to be separated from my true nature.
Yeah.
But then we can look at it from the standpoint, I mean, can oneness fall out of itself?
No.
So we notice that we cannot be separate from it. We cannot be detached from it. That the very thing that is hanging on to a bit of the belief that there's a Lee there and an awakeness somewhere else, that's awakeness.
Yeah.
In one form or another, however it works, it's awakeness. It's really just a pattern that's happening within awakeness.
Yeah.
We don't want to make awakeness out to be some being, right?
Yes, and those patterns are increasingly obvious now.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, even the ones, a lot of stuff has gone, a lot.
Yeah.
And these ones now, who knows? They seem to be really kind of fundamental. I don't know, very primary. I suppose is a good
well.
word.
There are you're not going to lose the idea. I mean, you're not going to completely disidentify from that locality. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a trying to annihilate this thing here,
which was this thing here trying to annihilate itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that doesn't work. And it's all been the hard way. I mean, it's funny listening to you. You're speaking 2 minutes ago about needing community. There's been no community at all here.
Yeah, right.
It's been very much the hard way.
Yeah, right.
So because there's been a not wanting to talk to anybody. It's been actually been weird. It's been weird. There's been like a superiority wanting to talk to people who don't know about this.
Oh yeah, so that you can share that, because
exactly.
Even if you don't wake them up, at least they'll notice that you're awake.
Exactly. But then there's been the inferiority the other way, that I'm almost too scared to go into a community because they might be more awake than
Yes,
me.
that's right. I wouldn't go to a teacher forever because I was afraid he was going to tell me I wasn't awake. Right? And it was just like, oh, that would have shattered me. But I was awake, but it was only the part of me that was not awake that was scared of being called, right?
Yes.
Afraid of being told the truth.
Yes.
So there was no final. I didn't want to give up that last little bit.
Yeah.
So when I'm a recovered alcoholic.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, good. So the first time I went, I cleared up through the 12 steps. Did you?
No, but it was kind of this really that did it. This just appeared, and that everything started to fall away then.
Okay, that's great. That's fine. So when I did go to AA, and the first time I went to an AA meeting, I was just terrified of having to go in there and say, my name is Fred Davis, and I am powerless over alcohol. Because I felt like and here's that last little bit, right? I felt like I'd be giving up the last little bit of control that I had. But once I finally went in that room and said that, what I noticed was, oh, I see, I've never had any control to begin with. So I'm not actually giving up control. I'm just giving up the idea of control. Right?
Yes.
Because I had told myself for decades that I could quit anytime I wanted to, but I just noticed that I never wanted to.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And I couldn't have quit if I'd wanted to. But it was easier just to say that I could. But I wasn't trying it out. Yeah. And
that's still going on a little bit here with silly things like coffee and biscuit. The bizarre things like biscuits.
Well, notice that so that's very, very interesting that you would use those two examples, because of both of that's what you eat and drink.
Yeah.
And if there is no identification as a Lee, no identification as that body whatsoever, you don't have to be a Lee, but if there's no Lee, but identification left as that body, then the biology will wither. Because there wouldn't be enough identification, I mean, it'd be, Lee, I'm so thirsty and I've been drinking all morning. What do you think the problem is? There's not enough identification for me to get this to my mouth. And the same thing with a biscuit, right? Is that there would be, boy, there's so much hunger here. And I'm at a buffet. So much hunger here. Wow. But I don't know what it is that's hungry. I don't know where it is. So I have no idea how to feed it. Thanks. So that core primal identification that you're talking about doesn't go away, and we don't even want it to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Ramana Maharshi, right? They said somebody would come up and say, here's your banana leaf with the stuff in it.
Yeah.
Ramana. Or Ramana, come get your food. More likely they took it to it. But either way, it doesn't matter. That there was identification there. And Ramana didn't think he was actually a Ramana, and he certainly didn't think he was limited to being that body. But he was not, when he said there is only the self, he didn't say there is only the self plus this body. This body is part of that self. But there's a sense, there's a feeling of independence. There's a feeling of independence, but it's not real. much of clearing is coming to see that right there.
Okay.
Right? And this will be, keep coming, and this will be very helpful to you.
Okay.
Not just what I say, but most of the people in this room are already awake, just like you. And they'll report on things from different angles. There are people in the room who are not awake, and this is helping them, because the company of sages is the most important thing that one can do other than pay attention to attention. So you come here to talk to yourself and listen to yourself. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. So, and there's no way that that could be beneficial if we go by the hard rules of non-dual philosophy, because there's no one here, and there's me talking to me is not going to affect anything, and that unit can't make any difference in the clarity of awakeness and all that stuff. And what I notice is that all that's bullshit, because it happens anyway.
Yeah.
The mind wants to know, is it this way or is it this way? And there are teachers all over the world that are telling you it's this way or this way.
Yeah.
It's not this way or this way. It's both. There's some teachers out there telling you that too. That's not exclusive to this teaching. But it's the recognition that you are both the vastness, you are the absolute, and there is a relative experience. And true or not true is an awkward term, because there is this experience.
Yes.
And there's an experience of my being there and my being here, and there being air in between us, all space in between us, all of this, right?
Yes.
But none of that's true, of course.
Yes. There has been a lot of relaxing since I've been listening to your videos and coming here.
Very good.
Because I got to the complete dead end with the kind of non-duality sort of, I don't even know how to say it, but it's just so brutal.
Yes.
And no room to move anywhere. And
it's a concrete overcoat.
Yes. And I ended up with what's the point in anything here?
Yes. That is where the vast majority will always end up.
Yeah.
Is in nihilism.
Yes.
And there's
this
nihilism
is very refreshing
here. Huh?
I said this is very refreshing.
Yes. There's no nihilistic message here.
No.
There's just a broader vision of what non-duality is.
Yes.
What is generally taught as non-duality is actually absolutism.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And because it's who gives a shit about relativity, because that's not true. This is what's true.
Yes.
That's excluding relativity from non-duality. Hello? You can't do that. I mean, you can do it if you want, but you're going to suffer from nihilism. And a lot of these people do. So what we want to do is we just recognize that there is this experience. Now, whose experience is it? It's divinity's own experience. It's the divine experiencing the divine. Wow. How do you just sweep that away with "it's just a dream," right? It is not just a dream. Wow, what a dream. If you notice that we can come to the truth, you've already come to the truth. But do you notice that there's not a lot to say about it?
Is there anything to say?
Is there anything at all to say? And the answer is no. So this teaching is actually about the experience of divinity waking up to itself and having the experience of relativity.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So that's full recognition of that's the full embrace
Yes.
of everything.
Yes.
Because the non-dual view is not the view of the absolute, and it certainly isn't the view from the relative. It's the non-dual view is seeing both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not oscillation, that's just attention, whether I'm in the foreground or the background. If I'm washing the dishes, I'm probably in the back, then I'm probably in the background. And the next thing you know, I remember Suzanne, whatever her name was, the English woman I've talked with, and she, teacher. And she said that, that she was washing dishes. And then she said she was washing a knife. And then she suddenly looked at it and realized that was the knifiest knife that she had ever seen. That was all she could say. Wow, that's the knifiest knife ever, because it's everything.
Yes.
So it's this recognition that this teaching would be said to be not out of line, although it's not the same thing, but it's very close to the teaching of Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Yes.
And I revere him. And his teaching was that his saying always was, I breathe in and I am everything. I breathe out and I am nothing. And in between those two, my life turns. And that's where we find ourselves, is it not?
Yes. Perfect. Wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate your coming.
Thank you.
Very nice to meet you. Glad you.
Yes, you too. Yeah. I love listening to you.
Great. You're a real add to the community here. Thank you. So, Terry got up early and you're now on stage.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. A little bit jet lagged, so it's a bit easier to get up when you're jet lagged because you can't sleep anyway. So you've just done the most perfect introduction to what I was going to say. Absolutely perfect, because I was listening to an audible on the way over on the plane of Nisargadatta, I am that, and I was kind of like in a half awake state as you are on the airplanes, and he was speaking and I was half asleep, and suddenly these words came out. He said, the first step is I am nothing. The next step is I am everything. And I just went, whoa. I turned off my player and I just felt that sense of being just absolutely, my whole body was just vibrating. It was just incredible. So I wanted to talk about that with this.
And the third step is that I am both.
Yeah.
You are the vastness and you are the musician.
Mm-hmm.
And you're having a ball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you a question, just for a change, saying how interesting life is in post-awakening.
Mm-hmm.
About that which cannot be talked about,
Yes.
which is that which is prior to consciousness or experience.
That's right.
And Ramana referred to this as I.
Yeah.
And Nisargadatta called it awareness, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And how that relates to the sense of being, which is I am aware of I, through this sensing mechanism. Because when I feel that sense of being, there's different degrees of intensity in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm referring to a sense of being that doesn't have a cause, like, smells and sights and
Right.
stuff, just a sense of
Literally a sense of being.
Yeah, with no reason for it.
A sense of sight, a sense of hearing.
So it's like nothingness, no thing has come into thing and feels.
Yeah, because that being the key words is that it's no thing, but it's not nothing.
No, exactly.
Because it's the potential for all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the apparent absence of that, this presence can exist.
Which is everything is possible.
Which is everything, and yet there's everything and there's no thing, but that no thing is like the opposite, so to speak, of being. Okay, there's being and then there's not being, but there's no opposite to that awareness.
No.
Ramana, Nisargadatta was very careful. Well, he wasn't always very careful. He used, like me, he got very, very sloppy in his teaching, depending upon who he was talking to, right? Because he knew he needed to talk carefully around some people and and not carefully around others, and they would get it. But the problem is that person got it, but the audience didn't get it, right? But so what? I mean, that's just the way it works. So he was very careful when he was of using the term awareness and consciousness and not considering them to be the same thing.
No, exactly. And that's the difference that I'm concerned with. We're talking about now, the difference between the awareness and the consciousness. The awareness is prior to consciousness.
Consciousness is actually an arising.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the big sort of stumbling block that I have got over. Well, language.
That's it.
I know now that that consciousness is in the dream.
Yeah, consciousness, it is that by which the dream can occur.
Yeah, exactly. It's so obvious, but there's been such a huge curtain between awareness and consciousness, in my so-called seeking history, that it feels just so liberating now. Yeah.
Because everything in this story counts within
Absolutely.
the story.
Well, there's nothing else. I mean, this is reality. Well, no,
there's no
not reality.
Right, but it is relative reality.
Yeah, I mean, Ramana referred to reality as that which does not come and go. It's just the thing which is always totally unborn, unaffected, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, which is
I.
Which is I, but there's only one I.
Yeah, one I.
So I can say it, you can say it, and everybody else can say it. And we're talking about the same thing, but there's a little spin on it because this is Indra's net, right? So while it is true that you are the all, you are the everything, you are simultaneously this one over here.
Yeah, well, yeah. I've got two screens, so I'm looking at when you speak, you appear. When I speak, I appear on one screen. Then I've got everybody on the other screen. So we're all looking at the same thing from different little points of.
And we're looking. And we're looking from the same thing, but we're looking through different things.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're still the same substance, different conditioning.
Yeah. Different messes.
So, when it's recognizing that as we said before, is recognizing that the body just doesn't have conditioning, that the body is conditioning. So when we recognize the body is conditioning, we no longer expect it to wake up. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's when the body, it's recognized that the body is conditioning, then our expectations of the body drop considerably.
It's true. Yeah.
And our need for the body to achieve certain given results becomes less and less important the clearer we get. Yes? I might have said this before, but probably about a month ago, for some reason I was having some kind of thought. And it was like, Terry's in the jungle, and that's a bird, if anybody's wondering what that is in the background, a beautiful, so the outback, it would be called there. So, what the hell was I talking about? We're at the end of that.
That's okay. Yeah.
That's all right. Obviously, I had said enough about it. I didn't realize it yet, but it did. Once in a while, it'll just drop a call, right? When I'm in a Skype session. It dropped one the other day, and it was like we had like about a minute or two left where we're just gonna be hi, good to see you, bye, like you and I do. And instead, it just dropped. And I sent him an email with a thing in the title that said, God said enough of this talk, and just severed the connection, right? They've already finished and they don't know it. Let me show them. Let me help them out. Thank you, Terry. That's great. And I don't see, well, let me go to the gallery view. Let me see. I don't see another hand just yet. So we need another teacher, given that this is not my satsang, it's yours. There we go. Tom, how you doing? Wait just a second. Okay, Tom, you got it. You're fine. You speak.
You hear me?
Yeah. I screwed you up. It wasn't you, it was me.
Hi, Fred.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Hello.
Hello.
Hello to everybody in SATSANG. I'm had my 1 year anniversary of awakening, of getting a glimpse with a session with you, Fred.
Yeah, I remember you.
Just the other day.
Yeah.
And I've been watching SATSANG for the past few months, so I kind of know a lot of people.
Yeah, that's great.
But you don't know me because this is the first time I've spoken.
Right. Yep.
I would like to report a phenomenon that I experience frequently. I'll say like twice a week.
Okay.
I go into definitely unconsciousness and kind of a morbid unconsciousness. And I'm aware that I'm there, but I don't give a damn. It's just too hard. I mean, in those moments, it's just too hard to even try to come back to clarity. I just say the hell with it.
That's really a good idea. That'd be my advice.
Yeah, I just say the hell with it, and just usually what I do is I'll just sit on the couch and just mindlessly eat. This will be in the evening.
Yeah. I get it.
Mindlessly eat for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
One potato chip after another.
Yeah, just can't get enough of these.
And then I'm noticing how unskillful I'm being.
Yep.
But I just don't give a damn. And I get gradually that lip.
Go ahead.
And I move on. Whatever. I mean, I go to bed and try again the next day.
So this is that nihilism that we were discussing earlier. And in my experience so first off, let me say, welcome to Post-Awakening. And right. And first thing we want to notice about Post-Awakening is that it's absolutely the highest quality problem that a person can have. Because there are millions of seekers, tens of millions of seekers around the world aiming for just that. So we don't want to think it's a problem. We just want to notice how it unfolds. Can you move your camera down just a little bit? I'm not catching actually your entire day.
Yeah. I'm getting real comfortable here.
Yeah, right. Okay. I want you to be comfortable. I just want
that's better.
That's much better. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I felt like he's slipping.
Yeah. Yeah. Just so you can hear me.
Yeah, I'll be talking to the top of his head here in a minute.
Yeah.
So that nihilism, what I notice is that it usually, that sense of nihilism will arise when we have seen usually pretty clearly what we are not, but we have not seen very clearly what we are.
Yeah. That's very good, Fred. That's it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm not.
Right. That's right.
But I see that very clearly. At least I think that.
Perfect.
But I'm just not rebuilding.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't get the oneness.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: the mystics have always told us, most mystics from most traditions have told us that there's just one thing going on. I mean, that seems to be the one thing that the mystics can agree on, is that at the end of the day, there's just one thing. Would you agree?
I agree.
And that's really the foundation of all non-dual thought, isn't it? That there's just one thing. So since there is just one thing, and we both agree on that, let me ask you this. Is there any way that you're not it?
There can't be.
So wait a minute. So since that's the case, isn't oneness coming to oneness, and oneness is kind of grumbling to oneness? That oneness is not having the oneness experience. Is that correct? Is it possible?
Is what possible?
Is it possible for oneness to not have the oneness experience?
No.
So you mean oneness looks just like this? And although it's ridiculous, because we never imagined that oneness would look like this.
Yeah, Tom's not satisfied with his view of oneness.
Yeah. So is there a Tom?
No.
No. So whenever you believe in a Tom will not believe in you. Tom wants nothing to do with any place where there's an absence of a Tom.
Smart fella.
Right. So it's really just, there's no point in our waiting for Tom to understand this. Because here's where this might be very important for you. That's where the predicament is that Tom is trying to figure this out. But Tom wants to know what we're talking about. But I don't know what we're talking about. I really don't. I don't even know what I am. I mean, I know who I am in that mystical way, but I don't know what that is. Call it awareness, call it consciousness, call it Tao, right? Call it Susan, who cares? When you recognize that you don't know what you are, and you see that very clearly, there is just one of you. Is that correct? How many awarenesses can you experience right now?
Just one.
Can you find anything outside of that awareness?
No.
Could you ever find anything outside of that awareness?
No, I can't.
So where are you?
I'm here now.
Yeah. So, because here now is all that it actually exists, isn't it? So, you actually are here now, but you're disappointed in yourself.
It's not enough. I want more. I want visuals.
I want more of this.
I want visuals.
That's right. I want visuals. You're getting them. You're talking to one. You're talking from one. You are not in the dream. The dream cannot exist without you. Because let me ask you this. Can there be a sense of being Tom if there's not first a sense of being?
No.
So the sense of being Tom is...
The sense of being has to notice that there's a Tom.
So it has to come to believe that. So there's the sense of being Tom is completely dependent upon the unfocused sense of being. Is that right?
Yeah, sense of being comes first.
So is the sense of being dependent upon the sense of being Tom?
No.
So one of these things is true, and one of them comes and goes. It's not that you have a sense of being, but do you know what it is that actually has that raw sense of being? Can you find an owner?
No.
No. So there's just a sense of being, but it's an unowned thing, there's a sense of being here. Can you actually, which is more true for you to report? Is it more true for you to report I am, or that there's a sense of being?
Sense of being.
Sense of being. It's more true. It's more primal. It's that's what I am is the first story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Right. Because actually what I notice is that prior to the sense of being Fred, I have no recollection of anything. And do you know, I don't even know what happened in my deep dreamless sleep. I can't report on it because there was no one there to report on it. And when there's no one there, there's nothing happening. Because the sense of being is, the world is the sense of being contingent upon the world?
No.
Is the world, but the world is dependent upon the sense of being, because no witnessing, no world. So this I am, which is thought to be the bottom line. I mean, and we don't want to say that, you know, it's untrue, because how do you say I am not? We just notice that we're actually don't know enough to make that report. I can't report from
nowhere.
That's it. That's it. Nothing can't report from nowhere, so to speak. So this I am is the first story, and the second story is I am Tom. And the third story is, now that I am Tom, there's something wrong here.
Fred, I hear this so many times, but I forget it so many times.
Yeah.
You know,
so how long is it? So I understand that you forget it, because actually you were, how long did you think you were a Tom? Even when you thought you were a Tom that was looking for awakening. How long were you a Tom? Decades. And you told me you just had your first anniversary of being awake. So you've been a Tom, you've been thinking you were a Tom for 60 years. And you've been thinking, understanding, knowing that you are awakeness for under a year. While it's true that that repetition is the mother of clarity, it's also the mother of cloudiness, and it's got 60 years head start on you, right? That's not going to vanish immediately, because it is what it is. That is, it's not so much that you forget about awakeness. It's the fact that awakeness identifies as a Tom. And from there, all of the troubles flow.
Yeah.
Right now, in the absence of a Tom, because there's simply no Tom here, never has been, we're not taking one out of the picture, just hasn't been one here. In the absence of a Tom, can you find a problem right now?
No.
Can you find anything unfinished? Or is there anything unfinished or broken?
No.
So there's just this as it is.
This is plenty. This is great.
So
this is enough. Yeah.
This is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's do this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's it. Because so you notice that there's only one of you. And since there is only one of you, do you actually need language? No. You only need language when you're pretending to be a Fred and a Tom. And you want to talk to yourself because that's the way that's the way that the steam is rising.
Yeah.
So when you sometimes this includes a cloudy Tom. Is it wrong then?
No, but
No.
Tom is impatient.
And so we want to go back and look at this again. So tell me where Tom is.
Where's Tom now?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares?
Good answer.
Yeah, one just doesn't care.
Right. How
Yeah.
much does Tom weigh?
Oh my. Once again, who cares?
If we go to our list of everything that exists on the planet, everything that exists in the world, will there be a Tom on it?
Well, for anyone that's doing a survey, that there would be.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So you're talking about somebody else?
Yeah,
How many other are you?
one.
So is there anybody else?
No.
So you're talking about if you were pretending to be somebody else and were and had some kind of a job doing a survey, and all that just is bullshit, right?
Oh my.
So if there's no Tom, how much does a Tom weigh? And don't say who cares because I care.
Well, this is very hard to say.
Oh no, this is easy as pie. It's just that there's an inability or unwillingness to really tell yourself the truth. Let's go to the list of everything that exists on the planet. Is there a Tom on there? Yes or no?
Yes.
Really? Well, point him out to me.
Well, you and the gallery are seeing a unit here. You're seeing an object
I'm looking at myself.
that is labeled.
I'm looking at myself. That's what I'm primarily looking at. Now, what I'm showing up as, I'm also showing, don't focus in on just the body. It's no more important than the sofa or the picture or the wall.
Okay.
See, that's the funny thing about these objects is they like to think of themselves as subjects. But these bodies are not subjects. They are the object, and I am the subject. And I am the only thing. I'm the only subject because there's just one. And I can't find anything outside of awareness. So actually, that body's got to be me trying to declare that I am seeing something else. If there's just one thing going on, is that body separate? Is there oneness plus a Tom?
I may not
Just
be
a
ready.
yes or no. That's a yes or no question.
No.
There's no Tom. So if there's no Tom, how much does a no Tom weigh?
Zero.
Notice, 0. You see how easy that is?
There's something in here that doesn't want to give up on him.
That's right. So that, but it's not a Tom.
Can't be.
It's just a thought that doesn't want to give up on another thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so long as that thought is believed instead of inquired into, the experience will be that there's a Tom who's not awake. But there's actually only awakeness. That body is never awake. Neither is this one. Never was, never will be. There is only awakeness. That's what weighs 0. It doesn't have any height, weight, volume, nothing. But what we notice is that we can't find anything outside of awakeness. So this manifested world can't be outside of awakeness either, can it?
Yeah.
So this manifested world is not actually, there's not awakeness plus a world. So this is not other than you. I'm not saying this is equal to you, but I'm saying it's not other than you. How many things are there?
1.
Is anything outside of you?
No.
As awakeness, as the single subject, the single subjective, is there anything other than you?
No.
So the one who doesn't experience oneness is the one who doesn't exist. Because, and Tom will never see oneness over there because there's no over there over there. There's only here now. So it really comes back to the nagging belief that I'm really a Tom, which isn't a constant companion over there.
No.
It rises and it falls. And is it a problem when it arises?
It is the Tom.
Yeah. So is it actually I know that we're all waking up, and I know it's the most important thing that can happen and all of that. Nonetheless, let me ask you this. Is it actually critical that awakeness know itself to be awakeness?
No.
No. When you don't know yourself as awakeness, then there's some localized sense of suffering. And that, you know, why do that if you don't have to? But right now, I notice you have to until you don't. And I've noticed that it's not a problem. It may not be the preference that arises, but incredible as it may seem, the world is not about satisfying the preferences of either this one or that one. Because this is actually awakeness, and awakeness has no preferences. In the absence of a Tom, can you really find a preference? So, and can you tell me from this position of oneness, can you tell me that, do you know, I mean, you don't even know what you are. Do you know what should be going on? No. So if you don't know what you are and you don't know what should be going on, what's going on, is there any way that you could know what should be?
No.
So when we tell ourselves the absolute truth, this is the ultimate humility, is when I come to recognize that they're what I really am, which is I am oneness, and sometimes oneness thinks it's a Tom. And when it does, it suffers on that level, but there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just what is. And you, awakeness, don't really have any preference. There seems to be some sort of automated thing that's pulling you in these different apparent locations, that's pulling you to greater and greater clarity. And you're not steering that boat. You're on that boat. You are that boat, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is I'm not on that boat and I'm trying to guide it because
Yeah.
it's off course.
Got to fix that.
You got to fix that. That's right. And the funny thing is that you notice that as awakeness, there's absolutely nothing wrong. And the moment you believe that you're a Tom, you see, oh, this is not going the way it should be for Tom. And I need to fix this problem. It's problems all over the place. Jesus Christ, whole thing is a problem. So I think you would do well to visit us in person at least more often. Because even when you're watching.
Yeah, I'm watching and it's helpful. But wow, this is a leap that
Yes.
I've done today.
Yes, that's it. And the good news is that along with your leap, all of us have risen.
You're welcome.
Yes, that's right. That's it. Thank you. And so that's that value of community that I was talking about with Lee, is that stuff happens here. And you can't sit at your house and try to work out what is it that happens and is there anything that happens or whatever. You come and what you discover is that stuff happens. And stuff happens because, see, I can't talk to a Tom that I can't see. And I can't point out where a Tom that I can't see and talk to directly. I can't see that that I can't see where I am stuck over there, so to speak. I have to come to myself and confess to myself that this is the way I see things, and then find out that that ain't true. You know, that the way you see things is not true. And then, and you learn that by learning the truth. We don't have to get rid of anything that's false. We just see through it. And once we see through what's false, the only thing that's left is truth. And that's what this teaching really is about. It's neti on steroids. We come to see what we're not, and then we come to recognize what we are. And you can't, you know, when we all want to have just the one big flash awakening. We read about those and we know they're wonderful and we should be having one. I wouldn't curse anybody with one. I used to encourage those because I thought surely that person will recognize that they're awake and that I did it. Be so good for my rep. But the problem with these explosive awakenings is that they spin confusion like a spider spins a web. Because I had an awakening and it was really special. And now I'm not having an awakening. And every bit of that's Fred talking. And you would think, and we don't want that big flash, number one, because it'll be confusing probably for years. And we don't want to clear up all at once because there's no such thing. But the asylums are quite full of people who've journeyed in that direction. To a little more rapidly than we have.
Yeah.
So we're actually the blessed, so to speak. There's no one here. But if we were, then we're lucky. So to experience yourself is the only point that I can find to any of this, is to experience yourself. And this is relativity, which means, and within relativity, guess what? Nothing's stable. And when you're seeing yourself, even when you see clearly that you are the relativity, relativity is involved, and that's going to come and go. It's going to waver and then not waver. That's part of relativity. There's a sense of identification, and then there's not. Where's the problem? From awakeness's point of view, there is no problem about that or anything else. There are endless preferences here, and they are go unsatisfied by the 100 every day. But the good news is that I don't actually have any expectations, and I have a very low bar for reality. I mean, I'm willing to accept this. I mean, as it is, for God's sake. Because there's no comparison to this, and there's no alternative to this. So what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. This is me.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Splendid. That was great.
Thank you, Fred.
You bet.
Thank you, community.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Tom. So Miss Jane, who was good enough to send me the reminder about the UK time change, thank you so much.
I've been caught out on that before.
Yeah, I've been caught out of that too. I remember going to the movies and trying to buy a ticket, and they were saying, "Oh, it's not time." And it was like, the movie starts in 10 minutes.
The trouble is, if you live in London, and because there's Greenwich Mean Time that goes through London, you sort of think we still kind of think we're the centre of the world,
Yes.
and everyone should
Yes.
be around the same time.
Yeah. It's funny how the 0 hour runs right through England. I mean, there was no thinking, "Ooh, the British Empire is the beginning of everything." No, none of that.
Yeah. When I was listening to you talking with Terry, what occurred here was something that I've kind of has occurred before, and it's like I'm not the thing, I'm the potential for the thing.
That's right.
And the potential for the thing can't exist without the potential for the thing.
That is exactly right.
So I have to be both, and it's really interesting because what happens with that is it's like inside I go, "Oh," and get really excited, and it's like, oh, that's how it is when you just maybe just like this little seeing that moves along the provisional truth continuum.
That's right.
You know, it's like, oh, that's
right.
a thing. So and for me, that thought is the one that has occurred to counter the nihilistic tendency which slips in as well about I don't know what I am. So but it's that potential, that generative potential thing that seems something closer to what I truly am.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to see.
Yes. This is not other than you, but you notice that it doesn't equal you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing to see, is that, well, this can't be other than me, because there's nothing other than me.
Yeah, and there's something inexplicable that I am.
That's right.
That's the creation of, or that's the source, or that's the something for.
Aren't you doing well? Good job. Hey, I'm loving it. This is terrific, Jane. There's been a lot of seeing over there, hasn't there?
Some days. Some moments.
Perfect answer. That's right. Yeah, there is when there is. There's clarity when there is, and there's not when there's not. But you are awakeness either way.
Uh-huh.
And you don't need to dread the relativity, because it, just like everything else, it comes and goes.
Yeah.
And you're actually not inside of that relativity. The relativity is inside of you.
Yeah.
So whatever happens in this dream, it certainly counts because it's in the dreaming. It's in my experience. So it certainly counts. And some things are even very, very important. But given that it's a dream, nothing matters. Right?
Yeah. And the experience here of getting a little clearer on nothing matters has given more space for, if there's no Jane, my brain is not to be trusted. There's, it's just like, well, what else is possible then? What other kind of situations can arise within relativity if I'm not stuck with all these ideas that I thought I was? So there's a psychological as a psychological benefit to the spiritual kind of development almost.
I have noticed, and I'm not reporting that this is any sort of hoodoo or voodoo, I'm just reporting that when since I've given up trying to direct the Fred life, which I can't direct because it's just happening. But ever since whatever it is that I am, ever since I've given up trying to direct the Fred unit's life, in this case, just this case, everything has gotten progressively better to the point where it's just ludicrous now. It's just too good. Right? Does everything in this life satisfy Fred's preferences? Absolutely not. But I do notice that the Fred story has improved tremendously. And it's not, and the lowering of the bar was not my saying, okay, nothing good can happen anymore. I'm lowering the bar, no expectations, whatever. But just in the absence of expectations, what has arrived has been greater than my old expectations. Yes?
Yeah.
I would have never expected this. Us here, this teaching. How could you expect that, right? I mean, you're sitting in your house going, I got to go on the internet and tell everybody I'm awake. How am I going to do that? I mean, and this, come to that, you can't sit in your living room expecting for this to happen. It just doesn't. You're half expecting to save the world and half expecting for the world to mock you. But you ain't expecting this. But in the absence of Fred's guidance, this has occurred. It just happened. Right? And it's oneness happening. It's not Fredness. It's not about the Fred story. It's just oneness morphing the way it does. But I don't know, but I just don't know the ways that things should look anymore. I mean, I'm thinking that it's entirely possible that it should look just like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like instead of trying to direct the painting, I feel like I'm starting to have conversations with the artist. I don't know if that.
Yes. Yeah.
Feeling.
That's right. And there's no artist.
Yeah.
But you're having conversations with the artistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I'm feeling a bit dual, I'll have conversations with the artist because
that's fine too. That arises as well.
I kind of know that's less true, but it's just
I'm certainly not telling you that I have expectations for your reality. So I don't want to tell you what you should or should not be experiencing.
Cool.
This looks like it's ideal for you. It looks like it's ideal for me. Not that we are different. Well, we are the same but different. What a great 2 hours. Let me ask you this. Is there anyone here, then it's fine if there is, please raise your hand if there is. Is there anyone in this satsang right now that would object to seeing this satsang on YouTube? Nobody going to see you but seekers. Okay. This has just been such a good satsang.
I was thinking that, Fred. I thought that. I was going to ask, why didn't you post this? This was so brilliant today.
Right. Yeah.
Such
Right.
brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to do exactly that. And we got a couple of people that are missing, but I know they'll go along. So I'm going to post this to YouTube because I think it'll be very, very helpful to lots of others. And it will be helpful for us if we watch it too. And I assure you that I will. I'm so impressed with these YouTubes. Oh, what a guy! And he's right in the middle, right? I love this. I love this gallery view because it helps me see I'm not in the middle. And actually, with the number of people that are here today, there is no middle, and there never is. But there's no even middle we could point at today. Thank you very much. I love you all. I'll see some of you this week, and I hope to see all of you next Sunday. Go with God. Bye-bye.